Other teams might as well buy their tickets to Cancun now because the Celtics are on the path to ban on 19. With us on this journey are JT, Sam Packard, Brian, Rob, and Sean. So I'm gonna need you all to buckle in because this pod's gonna be a wild ride.
Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable.
I've never seen anyone lose their season 2 years in a row.
A psychosexual celebration of the Boston Celtics.
Welcome to Still Poddable Playoff Edition. That's right, folks. We got a new theme song. We're very excited. This is Poddable Post-Game Show. I am Sam Jam Packard, joined by very special guests to talk about Celtics-Magic Game 1. It's comedian Josh Gondelman, Stoneham's finest. Josh, how are you doing?
I'm feeling good, thank you. I just enjoyed a fun first playoff game. A little sloppy, but I'm excited for that playoff atmosphere to be back.
It was a tale of two halves, I would say, where the first half was a little bit scary because we should by no means lose games or be in a competitive game against the Orlando Magic. I thought the Magic did a very good job and come out and play just like very, very physical basketball. And the Celtics did their best to respond in the second half and just kind of played bully ball. And really, I think they held the Magic to 37 points in the second half, an 18-point third quarter and a 19-point fourth quarter. And it just their championship medal took over there. And you had great performances from a whole cast of guys not named Jason Tatum or Kristaps Porzingis.
That's right. I also think, wasn't the first quarter, didn't they only score something like 18? Maybe it was 20, but I thought maybe 18 as well.
Oh, only 18, yeah. So
yeah. Other than that
quarters,
second quarter, the defense was really strong. And I mean, even going into that second half down 1, right? It was, you go, oh man, they're losing to the Magic. It was like, cool, because the Celtics only scored 48 points. Though they still held the Magic to 49 points, which is, I think probably lower than most teams score in most halves. I'm not a statistician.
No, we just pretend on the post-game podcast. Yeah, it was a bad, so in the final 8 minutes and 30 seconds of the second quarter, the Magic outscored the Celtics 25-12. And it was kind of sticky there. The Magic were getting a bunch of offensive rebounds. The Magic were attempting more threes than the Celtics. It was Paolo Banchero, who, good basketball player, and Franz Wagner, also good basketball player, really taking over. And they're going to be tough. Like Paolo seems to just score at will and knock down shots. I think the major issue for the Magic is that no guys other than those two, Wagner and Banchero, scored more than 7 points. And so I think the Celtics are going to be fine, giving up even 36 to Paolo if none of the other guys really hit shots.
Yeah, it really seemed like once, and it also seemed like, Jason Tatum didn't have a great shooting game. Jaylen Brown was a little better, but it wasn't one of his best games. But it really seems like without Jalen Suggs on the other side, the Celtics guards can really tear through the Magic guards. So it's like, the Magic forwards are playing well on offense, but they're playing kind of 2-on-4 in terms of who's scoring.
And I thought that was like the difference in the second half is like really just going at and trying to go through the Magic and kind of punching back and dealing with their physicality. I think early on they got in some foul trouble. Jason Tatum posting up Corey Joseph, who I immediately had negative things to say about Corey Joseph, but I don't need to besmirch his good name. But I don't think he's a playoff caliber player right now. And so I thought the Celtics did a really good job of just kind of matching that physicality, which is something they didn't do. And I thought it all started really with Drew Holiday in that third quarter. He only had 9 points, but 3 of 3 from 3, and all 3 were important. And I always laugh at Drew Holiday because sometimes he takes the most nonsense shots in just the history of basketball. He is very willing to shoot the basketball at any times. And today is like pull up threes in transition. Normally like the coach's nightmare of a shot, but he hit 2 huge ones to kind of propel the Celtics on that big run to start the third quarter.
he truly is the Marcus Smart for the new age, right? Like that is, and he because at least one of those threes he ripped the Magic player and then took took it in transition himself and pulled up not open, but not like wide open.
Not like you need to take this with 18 seconds left on
No,
the shot clock.
and not the way that when someone spaces out to the corner on a fast break and is like no one within 15 feet of him, you go, oh, I guess that's numerically, statistically a good shot. He was just like, I'm feeling it, man. This is my ball right now. I took it. It's mine. I'm gonna shoot it.
It was a huge play. I mean, like there was that worry there, maybe a little worry, but then the Celtics immediately jump up to that 10-point lead. And then after that, I thought just Peyton Pritchard. I mean, what Peyton Pritchard kid is just fucking amazing, dude.
Yeah. I love it. I love him not just spotting up for threes. I love that move where he just kind of accelerates to full speed, gets the defender under the basket, and then just stops and lays it up. It is like a really crafty it's barely even. It's not like the like a James Harden decel move. He just stops, and the guy is just too far to the basket to do anything with it. He's really had a great season. It's so much fun to watch him play as well.
It was interesting to see the kind of the adjustment from Joe Mazzulla from first half to second half. Peyton Pritchard didn't come in until I think 2 minutes left in the first quarter because they were really sticking with Drew Holiday, which makes sense. And he only played, I think, 6 minutes in the first half. Then they ran out the starters to start the second half, and then Peyton Pritchard came in and then just finished the game, the final 18 minutes.
Yeah.
And so a team with the Magic you think has a lot of size and maybe that physicality is going to bother Peyton Pritchard. But no, Peyton Pritchard plays a foot and a half taller than he seems and just like was very strong on the defensive end, but then just provided that shooting and that kind of tenacity and was doing that cool footwork stuff you also mentioned. And so I thought that was an interesting adjustment from Mazzulla, realizing like, no, this game needs the intensity that Peyton Pritchard brings.
Yeah. I think he had something like 9 points in his first 3 minutes, right? Like 2 threes, sandwiching the 3 free throws where he drew the foul on Wendell Carter Jr. And yeah, he just like, he's like the creative player for bench scorer who also plays some real hard-nosed defense. Yeah. I mean, like the guard play was really terrific. And you said he played the last 18 minutes. Didn't see a lot of Jaylen Brown in the fourth quarter. Is that correct? That was what my eye test told me.
Jaylen Brown did not play much of the fourth quarter, which is interesting. Let me look at his minutes. Did not play once in the fourth quarter. So he was, and so it's curious. Is like I think he played 30 minutes. And so it's maybe he's on a minutes restriction that they're lying to us about. He said he wouldn't be.
Yep.
Maybe they were just up big enough that they like, maybe if it was a closer game, they'd go back. But I didn't feel like I saw Jaylen Brown hobbling as much as I feel like we saw towards the end of the year. And I thought he was pretty explosive in the first half. He had one play with a dunk where he just was screaming while dunking. I'm a big fan of that.
Love a screaming dunk.
The love of screaming dunk. So I think it's going to be interesting to see one, what the comments are about Jaylen Brown. And then two, the very scary fall with Jason Tatum, who clearly hurt his wrist there. And that was, I mean, he came back and knocked down some shots, including his only 3 of the game, but he did not seem to be enjoying his time on the basketball court.
He seemed to be in a little bit of discomfort, not having a great time. Hopefully that's nothing too serious, and hopefully Jaylen is okay too. Maybe they just decided 30 minutes in a game that is not super tight, like you said, is enough, because they have been saying, oh, he's not on a minutes restriction, he's ready to go. And that dunk, I mean, I think it was his last game that he played before taking the last few off. There was a layup that he took that I thought any other game of the season, he would have just really gone up and thrown that down. And to see him go up for a big dunk, it was just nice to see not just the explosiveness, but his comfort going up. You know what I mean? So that was good to see. And hopefully they just said, like, why play him 39 minutes game 1 of the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's the thing. He probably would have been sitting to start the fourth quarter, and then it's like 6 minutes left is when he's scheduled to come back in, but they're already up 15, and maybe it's just like give him a rest. So we'll see. I think there's a lot of interesting storylines before game 2, which is until Wednesday. For those who are watching live right now on the Twitter and the YouTubes, this is still Poddable. We're on Patreon. We're Monday through Friday, Celtics podcast. You can subscribe today for the rest of the playoff run. Go to patreon.com/stillpotable. You can be part of chat, or you can become a legend like this legend, Joshua B, and join us right here on the podcast. Joshua B, how are you doing? How are you feeling after game one?
I'm outstanding. First, it's good to see you, John. I had a question for you about something that you just said. I liked when you asked the sort of overall question of why play Jaylen Brown the extra minutes in the fourth quarter. Did you have a similar feeling about Kristaps Porzingis, who played even less time than Jaylen Brown and was probably responsible for 2 to 3 of the turnovers?
Yeah, I mean, that nudged me less just because I think, or it bumped me less because I was feeling a little, I think everyone was really had their eye on Jaylen's knee coming into the playoffs and thinking about his minutes, and it just felt like it was an Al Horford, Peyton Pritchard game, and so for those two guys to be on the floor, a couple starters have to be on the bench, and so the Porzingis stuff didn't bother me as much, especially early in the playoffs. They're playing what's working and kind of cruising towards the end of that game. Like that fourth quarter wasn't super competitive.
That was I think another adjustment that Joe Mazzulla made is like in the first half. And I think going into the series, we talked about with Jay and B-Rob a lot. Like we thought this was going to be a double big series because there's Magic are a big physical team. They get a lot of offensive rebounds. They went to a lot of double big lineups. We saw Horford and Kornet. We saw Horford and Porzingis. I don't think we ever saw Porzingis and Kornet. But then in the second half, there was no double bigs. And so when that happens, it makes it either going to have Horford out there or you're going to have Kristaps Porzingis. And when they went on this big run, in the end of the third, start of the fourth, that was Al Horford on the court. And I just think that makes the most sense in terms of defensively. Like I thought there was points in the first half where especially Franz Wagner was really attacking Kristaps Porzingis. Now I was trying to do some searching to see if Latvia and Germany have any bad history in the past. I'm guessing they do. Most countries in Europe have
on
bad
a long
histories.
enough timeline. They have probably squared up at one point.
But why is Germany being so aggressive? I've never known that to be.
It is historically not what they're known for, but the Wagners are bringing it, and he's aggressing for 2 with Mo on the bench.
That's true. I did like the Mo reaction shots, but Josh,
I love the Mo reaction shots.
Other than KP, how are you feeling?
4 questions, unfortunately. One
That's
is
all right.
Not unfortunately. Question all you want, Josh.
Okay, well then great, because just to give you some clarification, Jam, in 1941, Latvia was invaded and occupied by Nazis.
I was yes.
So I imagine that Kristaps Porzingis is going to get vengeance on the Wagners for that. I want to talk about something you just said a moment ago, Jam, about the adjustments of Joe Mazzulla. I think that's the story of the game. Joe Mazzulla made 2 very key adjustments on the court that I noticed very early that just seemed to completely discombobulate the Magic. First of all, they decided to guard Franz Wagner, which at the beginning of the game, it seemed like he left open the entire time.
That was a tactical improvement.
It was an awesome. And then I really want to commend Joe Mazzulla for what is probably the most important timeout I have ever seen any coach take. When Kristaps Porzingis lost his shoe, Joe Mazzulla noticed it the moment we could. He remembered last year's foot injury that kept Kristaps Porzingis out of the playoffs for the entire time. Immediately calls timeout, instantaneously calls timeout. That's a move that we just, I have been on this podcast lamenting Joe Mazzulla's lack of calling a timeout, and it just goes to show you that we do have the right coach. Did you feel like I felt that Joe Mazzulla made early in-game adjustments that will set the tone for the series, or do you think that there are more adjustments to come on the Celtics on our way to a sweep of the Orlando Magic? And remember that I still have one more question at the end.
I remember. I mentioned playing Payne Pritchard more. I thought was a good adjustment. I think going to single big was a good adjustment. I do think calling a timeout to allow Kristaps to put his shoe back on, good timeout there.
5 men, 10 shoes. That's what I always say.
You've long said this about basketball, Josh, and so I think that was wise. I think this is what makes playoff basketball fun, is because I am famous for coming out after a game 1 and saying there's nothing the team can do to adjust to beat the Celtics. And then teams always make adjustments and try to figure out mismatches. And I think that's what makes playoff basketball fun, is to seeing how Orlando will react. But I do think Joe Mazzulla showed in this game that he's willing to make changes in the game, and we have a deep enough roster where it's like we can lean on Peyton Pritchard and Al Horford for this game.
And I'll also say this, to bring in a friend of the podcast, Michael the Pod Pina, tweeted or blue skied early in the second half that they really cleaned up the defensive glass, even with the one big lineups. And I think I think the team really focusing on that. And even though Tatum wasn't shooting especially well, even before the injury, he ended up with 13 or 14 rebounds. And he's just such a monster when he's really crashing like that and getting in the thick of things. And I think that really, if the Magic aren't going to get second chance opportunities and they're not turning the Celtics over at a super high level, it's going to be a real tough scavenger hunt for them to find. It's an Easter egg hunt, if you will, for them to find points.
Yeah, so the Magic had 10 offensive rebounds in the first half, only 3 offensive rebounds in the second half, and I think that was a huge factor. Joe Mazzulla always talks about winning the margins, and so that's getting more shots, more threes up, more free throws. The Magic had way more shots than the Celtics did in the first half, and they were really winning the margin battle. And I thought the adjustment, they just like brought the physical intensity, and I thought Drew Holiday led the way. It was just kind of like he will guard Paolo and slow him down. But Drew, I don't know how many steals he actually ended up with, but it felt like he just kind of changed the tone and forced a lot of Magic turnovers. Kristaps Porzingis had 4 steals. Good for him. Drew Holiday had 3 steals himself. And the Celtics, I just thought got some easier fast break points. The Celtics had 26 fast break points when the Magic only had 4. And so I thought it was just the defensive intensity, and the defensive possession only ends once you get that board. So I think that was a good note by Pina there. All right, Josh.
It's interesting you say that, Jam. I don't know. I think that if you were to ask the Orlando Magic, the possession ends when Drew Holiday or Kristaps Porzingis steals the ball, which is why they led 13-5 in steals. Team versus team.
It felt like a lot of deflections, like hands in the passing lanes, really, and then Drew just really bodying up who was ever bringing the ball over half court, and especially in the second half, it felt like they were really active, just looking for turnovers, because they're not like a super high turnover team, right? Are they strong defense, but not playing that fast break to get it and go game?
Yeah, so very quickly, I got one more question.
Oh, yes.
For you guys before I head out, and hopefully Grambling Grant comes on, because we need more of him on the podcast. And I seem to remember Jay King talking about how glorious the Orlando Magic's future are, and just he had on Philip somebody and was talking basketball and how wonderful the Orlando Magic preview their future was. And do you think that the Orlando Magic, particularly after Richard Jefferson basically spent the entire broadcast waxing poetic about how great Paolo Banchero is, do you think that they will use this time to reflect on be better in game 2, or do you think that Jason Tatum will enjoy his extra day off to heal up that wrist for game 2?
I think it's a false binary choice there, Josh. I think Jason Tatum can enjoy his rest, and the Orlando Magic can try to make their adjustments. I mean, Paolo's been very good. I think scored 30 points in his last 4 playoff games. Like he's great. Clearly a problem.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully Tatum has the same kind of like Wolverine healing factor in his wrist that his ankles seem to have, because he's really been so resilient over the course of, his whole career, but this season, especially when he rolled that ankle, I was like, this could be trouble for the season, and then missed one game. Probably could have played that game, but Mazzulla had lashed him to the mast like Odysseus. And but I really like watching Paolo Banchero play, especially on offense, especially when he's shooting the 3 well, especially when he's not playing against the Celtics. But I think it was a Jay King point on the podcast last week, was that it is kind of like the Celtics teams before the championship level run, where they really needed to bring in a point guard to organize, especially because Tatum wasn't quite the facilitator and manipulator that he is now with the ball and getting other people involved. They needed someone else that could stabilize things. And now they both have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are as strong as they've ever been at that part of the game. But also Derek White is just like about as steady. I mean, we haven't even talked about Derek White much, and he was incandescent from three. And I just feel so confident with the ball in his hands late in games. His release on those shots is so quick. His judgment on when it's his time to shoot is so strong. And he keeps it moving. He gets people the ball in their spots, and he's never, I never think he's overdoing it, which is like, a great Derek White game.
No, you're confident anytime Derek White takes a three. And it's like, that's, especially if you think back to the 2022 finals run against like the Warriors, where Derek White was being left open.
Yeah.
Now he's taking contested shots, or shots he probably shouldn't even take. I think he took one in the corner with like 3 seconds left on the shot clock where he had way more time, but it was like, you know what, Derek White, you've earned it.
Yeah.
He had 7 threes tonight. He had team high 30 points. And it's just such a safety valve where it's like Tatum's obviously going to get all of the attention, but Derek White, you just see him. He like if someone sets a screen on his guy and there's just like that split moment.
He's so little daylight. Yeah. It's really, I mean, and there are, I think 3 players between White, Pritchard, and Hauser who just need so little daylight to get those shots off. With Hauser, you see, that people talk about that no dip 3 where he just catches it in the pocket and goes straight up. But Pritchard and White, really just a quick trigger on that. And it's so like it just means that all you have to do is get them the ball with a second to, half a second to shoot, and they're gonna make a good play.
And he's just a solid decision maker and playmaker. And it feels like they're like when they don't know exactly what to do on offense, it's just like, all right, Jason Tatum and Derek White go do a pick and roll of some sort, or just set picks for each other. And that's just seems to be like the offense I have the most confidence in. And Derek White was just phenomenal tonight. I mean, 10 of 18 from the field, 7 of 12 from deep, many big shots. He has something like shooting like in clutch moments, which is within 5 points in the final 5 minutes. He's shooting like 65% this year. Like he just knocks down big shots like that. And so he was phenomenal. It's just like, what do you do when you're paying all of this attention to Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown and you have him on the second side? There's just not a lot that the Magic defense can do. And that like the Magic needs someone like that. They need someone else who can like be on the other side. Cause right now the Celtics can like just load up to Paolo and Franz and like, I guess you're fine with anyone else on the team shooting a 3, which I guess they knocked down some 3s today. Anthony Black made 1. Jonathan Isaac made 1. Caleb Houston made 1. I didn't even recognize Caleb Houston was in the game, but apparently he played 13 minutes. So good for him.
And you saw at the end of the play-in game, right, against the Hawks, where Cole Anthony can have a big quarter, he can have a big game. The potential there exists, and they're such a strong defensive team, but it's just they don't have the number of offensive options that the Celtics do. And ultimately, I think they're, I don't want to speak ill of them. I think they're a strong team. There's some injuries. I really like their 2 top wings, but it's an uphill climb for them to just score enough points to stay competitive, even as good as their defense is.
Yeah, the Celtics won this game by quick math, 17 points, and Paolo was a -4 in 42 minutes. And so that means in the 6 minutes where he was on the bench, the Celtics won by 13. And so there's just like, they have no source of offense when Paolo goes to the bench. And so it's just like an easy, I think that's one of the things that makes the Celtics team so strong is that there's just so many lineups where they don't necessarily need Jason Tatum to be on the court. He was a plus 23 in his 40 minutes. But there's so many more sources of offense. Today it was Derek White. It was Peyton Pritchard off the bench. And so you can just survive having a blah game from Kristaps Porzingis, only 5 points, or, Sam Hauser comes in and he doesn't make a shot whatsoever. Luke Cornett only doesn't do anything because the Celtics team is so deep that you're not, I think the modern NBA is like you're only as good as your weakest link. Whereas the older NBA is like, well, LeBron James is going to just put five
Right,
guys
he's
on the
gonna
staff. Yeah.
right, he's gonna give Daniel Gibson a piggyback ride to the finals again. And yeah, it just
Thank you
I
for
think it's
calling him Daniel Gibson and not his
I'm putting some
true
respect
nickname.
on his
Yeah.
birth name, his
Yeah.
government name, Daniel Gibson. And you can see it, right? Like you can see how hard it is when even for to go outside the conference, even not to. I'm sorry if this is leading us astray, but what it takes for Nikola Jokic to lead the Nuggets to victory when when Jamal Murray is out, and you go, well, this guy is as great. Not as only as great an individual player is in the league, but as much of an asset on offense to the other four guys on the court. And even he has, against a good team, it's tough for him to do that. And so, yeah, it's that depth. And I think the Celtics have such strong depth and got so many great, really strong performances, Pritchard especially, but Horford on defense. It's just like, it's really spectacular to watch the way that he still moves, because he doesn't swat shots at the rim the way Porzingis might, but he is real, like he really clamps down on guys. I mean, that Laker game where he was holding down Luka, and you go, that shouldn't be possible. This must be, does that say AL on my screen for Al, or is that AI? What's happening here?
Exactly. I think he might be the go-to guy down the stretch over Porzingis, just because I think the most effective defense in the NBA right now is just switching everything. And so you don't create these putting two on the balls. And I just don't think Kristaps is as good as Al is right now. Al can
I think he moves his feet better out on the perimeter. I think he doesn't drop as far. It feels like, even not in terms of drop coverage, but he doesn't play off a quicker guy as far. He sticks up on him a little tighter and can test shots a little better. Yeah, it's great. I treasure. And sometimes people will bring up, oh, Al Horford, is he a Hall of Famer? It's like, first ballot, no question. Get out of here. The next question.
Yeah. For his college game alone, he's probably a Hall of Famer back-to-back.
That's it. I think people forget the 2 college championships, I think, and the NBA championship. It's like, that'll get you in, especially because he was so central to those, to all of them, but he was such a force at Florida.
And he's a beautiful man. And I just think the NBA Hall of Fame voters are probably swayed a little bit by those 2 gorgeous eyes he has.
When they do his Head and Shoulders in bronze, nothing busted about that bust.
No. I think that's unless you have any more basketball observations, I think that serves as a good transition to the junk portion of the show. But
I do have one little one, which is, and I hate to nitpick in a strong win, but I mentioned it before. I would like to see Tatum looking to set up others a little more. That was such a crucial component of the championship run last year, and it felt like this in this game 1, he came out really looking to set the tone and be aggressive, which I love. When he takes the ball to the hoop, he's become a really great finisher and really crafty around the rim. But I think with the attention that he can draw and the way that the guards are shooting, and I would love to see him looking out a little bit more in the future. And I think I bet he probably will. I think his game has become so well-rounded on offense, and he's become such a heads up, thoughtful player when the ball is in his hands and when it's not.
I agree. I think there's such a trying to punish the mismatch and play back down. And I thought the Magic did a good job of being physical. And I thought the Celtics didn't really get a lot of threes. I think only 15 in the first half. And the way that I thought they generated some of those threes was Jaylen Brown getting into the paint and then dishing out, and Peyton Pritchard getting into the paint and dishing out. And so I would like to see Tatum do more of that, get a second guy committed to the ball, and then kind of play that Celtics basketball and splash the ball around. And so I do think they did a better job of that in the second half.
Yeah, definitely.
They finished with 37 threes. I think that's the big number to watch, is just how many threes the Celtics take, because the Magic are the best in the league at taking the threes away, and obviously the Celtics are the best in the league at taking them.
And maybe that's what it is. Maybe those players, the Magic players, were just guarding their yard, right, and not allowing the because they weren't sending to that much, and they weren't over committing to him. So maybe that's just what the defense was offering. But I think he's really at his best when he is, commanding that attention and then using it to spray the ball around and get the defense in rotation.
I think that's fair. It was a good last observation.
Yeah,
before
I'm
we get to the
sorry. I
jump.
didn't. It's a worse transition, but I just wanted to voice it as long as I'm here.
We don't need good transitions when I got this fancy little button that does this. All right, folks, if this is your first time tuning in, this is, we watch basketball, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on. And so this is the time in the evening called Jam's Junk Drawer where we pull out, nonsense observations, other things that, I felt were noteworthy. Josh, I'm sure you felt were noteworthy. My first one is actually a practice a couple days ago. Jalen said, I think he was just asked about this playoff run and trying to repeat. He said, "You never step in the same river twice."
That's beautiful.
It's beautiful. I'm pretty sure it's a direct quote of Pocahontas. But, and I get what he's trying to say. Like, the river flows down. It's not the same water. Every journey is different. You can't compare. But that's not how rivers work. The whole point of a river is that it's a continuous flow of water from one source to another. And so I think as soon as you take your second step, you've stepped in the same river twice. Like, the Mississippi River is always going to be the Mississippi River. Jalen's concept of a river doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I like it. I like his river philosophy. I think he knows what he's talking about. It's kind of we're making it a ship of Theseus situation, right? Like, at what point is a river? We're still calling it the Mississippi River, but it's all different water. That water that you stepped in last week, that's gone. That's in the Gulf now.
That's defining the river by its water, not by its water delivering capabilities, which I think defines the river.
Okay. Well, we get you next time you're at the arena, which I know you're in Philly now, but next time you get to go, you get to ask Jaylen Brown what defines a river.
That's perfect. How do you feel about t-shirt bullying? We've seen this in the playoffs where they hand out a free t-shirt to everyone's people in the audience. But some arenas, if you don't put on the t-shirt, will put you on the Jumbotron and hold the camera on you until you put on the t-shirt. And the Celtics don't do that, which I appreciate. But what are your thoughts on monochrome t-shirt bullying?
I'm also against it, because it's also like, what if you don't have a t-shirt in your size? What if you're really proud?
It's an XL. All of the shirts are men's XLs.
Yeah. What if you're really proud of the outfit you picked out for the game already? I don't think they need to bully you. I get the idea of wanting it to be intimidating, but I do think that if you're going to do that, if you're going to be really enforce it, you've got to let people know. You've got to give it the wall situation, right? Like they have at the Intuit Dome. You've got to let people know that the premise of your seat is you've got to fit the uniform.
Yeah, so people can go in and basically just wear an undershirt. Like, what if you're wearing a Jason Tatum Chaminade jersey, like from his high school? Like, you probably have planned your best outfit for game one for the playoffs, and they're just going to take it away with some size X. Also, the jerseys they gave away today were black jerseys, which are not the Celtics colors. Like, if it was a green out, maybe I could support it, but it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm glad they didn't bully anyone. They just give away the free t-shirt.
I like that too.
Oh, I see the comments are popping off right now. People have thoughts. Oh, it's just Josh B coming back to say that Josh's analysis rocks. So I appreciate that. B. This was a moment where I was looking at all the pregame B-roll footage, and they're just showing Boston in the springtime, and I found myself yearning. I was yearning to be in Boston in the springtime on a marathon Monday weekend.
I had the exact same response. I saw they showed, I think, some shots of the common and the river, and I was like, oh man, it's the best weather, that first few beautiful days in Boston, and it just everybody is in the rare good Boston mood.
Yeah, and people are just excited and they're nice to each other.
Yeah, guys wearing button-down long sleeve shirts and khaki shorts.
Yeah, just strolling with their best gal through the public garden. Have you ever been on a swan boat ride in the public garden?
I don't think I've ever done the swan boats.
I went with my best friend Rick when we were 14.
That's great.
And now he's a coach on the Capital City Go-Go. So
wow.
You know what? Sometimes these things work out.
Path to greatness.
Yeah. I just like Jalen was mic'd up and he said no Harry Potter as a way of trying to take down the.
Oh, I saw that as a quote. I forget who had said it, but I love that. That's so funny.
It's great. I'll be anti Harry Potter for the rest of this series.
And beyond. I'll
Yeah.
take it. I'm not look. I'm Jalen Brown over J.K. Rowling in all
Every
things.
day of the week. Every
that's
day of the week. Speaking of, I just have a bunch of times in my notes the phrase "timeout magic," which just seems like you're in a magic fight with a 6-year-old and he's just like trying to like no, we're no longer allowed to
Hey,
use magic.
Stop hitting me with that ruler you're pretending is a wand. Timeout magic.
Timeout magic. Timeout magic. Timeout magic. This is on ABC, so I feel like we got a lot of opportunities to see commercials for ABC television programs that I didn't know exists, including the show. Where is it? Will Trent?
Oh,
More
yeah.
like-
My parents are big Will Trent heads. Oh, yeah.
Do you ever needle them and say more like "won't Trent"? Because I feel like
No way. They've got the willpower. They love Will Trent.
oh wow.
I have a friend that works on the show as a writer's assistant, and it is I think the premise of the show is he's a detective who my friend Jill Twist, who's extremely funny, watched the pilot and was like, I think he has dyslexia. Like, I think that's what they're implying, but it seems like he just can't read. Like, he's a detective who never learned how to read. But I think he's a dyslexic detective, a dyslexic.
I just like the idea of the pitch meeting is like, what are word-based crimes we can come up with? Like,
That's
how
right.
many times can that come up?
I think this is a clue, or maybe it's a menu. Unclear.
Why is this the kidnapper only leaving notes in his cursive writing?
It's like, hey, he cut all these letters in the magazine. He didn't even put them in the order of words. Like, yeah, Will, those are words. Like,
No, that's
shit.
very clear. Ransom.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the John Travolta movie Blowout,
Yes. Yeah.
where he solves a crime using his sound editing techniques exclusively?
Wait, maybe I have not seen that. All right.
Oh yeah, he's a sound editor, and he's here in Philadelphia, and he's out, getting some nat sound for his movie, and he records audio only a car splashing into the river, and then he gets brought into this giant conspiracy, and he uses his great sound editing techniques to eventually bring down that conspiracy. Sorry for the spoilers for the movie that came out in 1981.
My wife doesn't watch, like, usually if I'm watching the NBA on television, she's in bed, or I have the sound off, or I'm watching on the app on my computer, and so she doesn't see the ads very often, and she really had, like, because it's all stuff that I see all the time, and so she was commenting. We were sitting in the living room watching together, and her commentary was she didn't realize the Connors was still on the air with John Goodman.
I had a note about the Connors.
We started talking about how Eli Gemstone was double timing with a secret family, and then the other one was, I hate all the ads that are like, use AI in your workplace. I'm like, why? How? No.
It's like they've co-opted the charming friendship of Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey.
That's right.
Into just AI. Like, why can't those guys just be hacky sacking somewhere?
That's right.
It's just, I don't need to, like, and it's a bunch of different products. It's not as fun. But back to the Connors.
Sorry. Yes.
I'm sorry.
I moved on very quickly.
I have, like, they're like a very, very sad advertisement for the end of the Connors.
Yeah.
One, I did not know the Connors were back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming this was covered, but where's Roseanne?
This was a while ago. She was famously taken off the show for being too publicly racist.
Roseanne Barr did that? Shocking.
Yeah, she said something I'm not gonna repeat, but it was extraordinarily racist, and they were like, you can't be on TV anymore, lady.
How'd they deal with it in the land of the Connors?
I don't know. I don't know if they were like, that one episode they're just like, oh, weird, mom got hit by a mail truck.
Oh, heart attack from old Roseanne. Yeah. The show used to be called Roseanne, not Roseanne Connor. But
then it was the Connors. Like, when it came back, it was the Connors. That was the reboot. But it was still with Roseanne. Yes,
oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And then she was excised from the family. I don't know. Yeah, maybe she she got sick of it and moved to a different town, like went out for cigarettes, didn't come back. I have no idea what happened to Roseanne within the canonically. But I know
Roseanne's gone back to her home planet.
Yeah. She's kind of the Poochie of the Connors.
Yeah. That's great. We also got an ad for Jurassic Park that was what's the dinosaur called? A Gilgosaurus, and I just feel like the writers could have had a crack at a different name for a dinosaur. And but maybe I'm just hating on Shay. I don't know. What's your thought on Gilgosaurus?
Also, man, that first game today was a bloodbath.
Oh, stinker. 50 points in a playoff game is not good.
It's no good. I was like, anytime you look at, you're like in the second quarter looking up like record playoff loss points, you're like, this isn't going well.
That wasn't good. But considering I wrote down Gilgosaurus and have yet to come up with a better dinosaur name, maybe I'm taking, not giving them enough credit for whatever that ad was. And then the final thing is kind of basketball related. It was goofy at the end of the third quarter where they called that foul on Jalen.
Yeah.
And there was 0.5 seconds left. And they're like, we are immediately starting the fourth quarter. ESPN, you better not go to a commercial.
It must have been they only held it because they'd already gone to commercial, right? They just went, all right, we'll hold it. We'll do it after, right?
Yeah, but there was they had made Celtics had made a bunch of subs, and then the old subs had to come back on for that 0.5 second and then immediately sub out. It was just weird, and I thought it was worth mentioning.
It was weird. I have one more junk. Can I get the sting?
You want the thing?
Yeah. So they showed at one point in the game 3 fans courtside kind of pop in their Pritch Please t-shirts. And I didn't know, I knew of the t-shirt, but I didn't know if it was like simply an embarrassing white person thing. And like, like a shirt that says like, it's like a dog and it says like namaste. And you're like, ugh, I don't think that's a good shirt to wear. And so I was curious, and it was a racially diverse group of guys. And I was like, all right, this isn't just on us being embarrassed.
I think Peyton Pritchard might sell those shirts at his like Peyton Pritchard official merch store.
Hey, good for him. If those are being sold, he should be reaping the profits.
Are you aware of the Will Smith rap song, You Saw My Blinker, Bitch?
No.
It's one of his more controversial songs. I would highly suggest everyone watching right now, and you, Josh, after this, go look it up. It's a tall tale of Will Smith basically just got in a car accident, but he gets real aggressive with the chorus as You Saw My Blinker, Bitch. But I thought, what if we made it You Saw My Blinker, Pritch, in a t-shirt that would make sense to no one except for me. But I think go places.
Honestly, even with you know what the reference is. I still don't know that makes it make sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's just in one situation they replaced the word bitch with Pritch, and then another situation.
Yes, I understand that.
Maybe we can get a Photoshop of Will Smith and Peyton Pritchard in like a drop top convertible together.
The most confusing garment.
It is shit post. I'm verbally shit posting.
Yeah, I love it. I feel like this. I think if this clip makes its way to weird Celtics Twitter, I think we'll have a Photoshop of that by dawn.
We can only hope. We can only hope. That's going to do it for us here. Josh, is there anything you need to plug? Any upcoming dates? Any days on Wait, Don't Tell Me are coming up?
Oh, hopefully soon. My road calendar is a little light. I'm going to be in New York for a while working on some writing stuff, but I do write a newsletter called That's Marvelous that comes out every Monday. It's joshgondelman.substack.com, and I have all my road dates in there. I was just back in Boston for a show, but hopefully I'll be back soon headlining. So thanks so much. Thanks for having me. I'm as you know, a longtime listener of the podcast and delighted to return.
Happy to have you. And you guys can also be like Josh. If you've enjoyed this, we're going to have 4 more podcasts for you for the rest of the week. If you want to hear what Jay King from The Athletic or Brian B. Rob from MassLive.com think about this game in the series, subscribe today, patreon.com/stillpoddable. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Celtics win 103-86 in game 1. Game 2 is on Wednesday. We'll be back right here on the Poddable postgame show.
Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable.
Oh, yeah.
Go down from eating and drinking and all that wild stuff.